Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I want to take you on a little trip to Iwo Jima. 8th grade class took a trip to Washington, D.C., and the last night of their trip they stopped at the Iwo Jima Memorial. This memorial is the largest bronze statue in the world. It depicts one of the most famous photographs in history, that of 6 brave soldiers, Marines, raising the American flag at the top of a rocky hill on the island of Iwo Jima, Japan, during World War II. As over 100 students and chaperones piled off the buses and headed toward the memorial, a solitary figure was at the base of the statue, and as they got closer, he said, "Where are you guys from?" They told him they were from Wisconsin. He said, "Well, I'm a cheesehead too." "Come on, gather around, cheeseheads, and I'll tell you a story." Turns out this man was James Bradley, who just happened to be in Washington, D.C. to speak at the memorial the following day. James Bradley is the 4th child of John Doc Bradley, who is depicted on that statue. An entrepreneur, businessman, author, producer of corporate films, and a world traveler. He was there that night to say goodnight to his dad, who had recently passed away. He was just about to leave when he saw the buses pull up. He introduced himself, saying, "My name is James Bradley, and I'm from Antigo, Wisconsin. My dad is on that statue, and I wrote a book called Flags of Our Fathers." It's a story of 6 boys you see behind me. 6 boys raised that flag. The first guy putting the pole in the ground is Harlan Block. Harlan was an all-state football player. He enlisted in the Marine Corps with all the senior members of his football team. They were off to play another type of game, a game called war. But it didn't turn out to be a game. Harlan, at the age of 21, died with his intestines in his hands. Now, I don't say that to gross you out. I say that because there are people who stand in front of this statue and talk about the glory of war. And you guys need to know that most of the boys in Iwo Jima were 17, 18, and 19 years old. And it was so hard that the ones who did make it home would never talk to their families about it. As an aside, I am the son of a World War II Marine, and I can tell you, never talked about it. He pointed to the statue. You see this next guy? That's Rene Gagnon from New Hampshire. If you took Rene's helmet off at the moment this photo was taken and looked at the webbing of that helmet, you would find a photograph of his girlfriend Rene, who put that in there for protection because he was scared. He was 18 years old. It was just boys who won the Battle of Iwo Jima. Boys, not old men. The next guy here, the 3rd guy in this tableau, was Sergeant Mike Strank. Mike's my hero. He was the hero of all these guys. They called him the old man because he was so old. He was already 24. When Mike would motivate his boys in training camp, he didn't say, "Let's go kill some Japanese," or "Let's die for our country." He knew he was talking to little boys. Instead, he would say, "You do what I say, and I'll get you home to your mothers." The last guy on this side of the statue was IRA Hayes, a Pima Indian from Arizona. IRA Hayes was one of them who lived to walk off of Iwo Jima. He went into the White House with my dad. President Truman told him, "You're a hero." He told reporters, "How can I feel like a hero?" when 250 of my buddies hit the island with me, and only 27 of us walked off alive. So you take your class at school, 250 of you spending a year together, having fun, doing everything together, then all 250 of you hit the beach. But only 27 of your classmates walk off alive. That was IRA Hayes. He had images of horror in his mind. IRA Hayes carried the pain home with him and eventually died dead drunk, face down, drowned in a very shallow puddle at the age of 32, 10 years after this picture was taken. The next guy going around the statue is Franklin Sousley from Hilltop, Kentucky. Fun-loving hillbilly boy. His best friend, who is now 70, told me, yeah, you know, we took 2 cows up on the porch of the Hilltop General Store. Then we strung wire across the stairs so the cows couldn't get down. And then we fed them Epsom salts. Those cows crapped all night. Yeah, he was a fun-loving hillbilly boy. Franklin died on Iwo Jima at the age of 19. When the telegram came to tell his mother that he was dead, it went to the Hilltop General Store. A barefoot boy ran that telegram up to his mother's farm. The neighbors could hear her scream. She screamed all night and into the morning. And those neighbors lived a quarter of a mile away. The next guy, as we continue to go around the statue, is my dad, John Bradley, from Antigua, Wisconsin, where I was raised. My dad lived until 1994, but he would never give interviews. When Walter Cronkite's producers of the New York Times or the New York Times would call, we were trained as little kids to say, no, I'm sorry, sir, my dad's not here. He's in Canada fishing. No, there's no phone there, sir. No, we don't know when he'll be coming back. He said, no, my dad never fished, and he never went to Canada. Usually he was sitting right there at the table eating his Campbell's soup. But we had to tell the press that he was out fishing. He just didn't want to talk to them. You see, like IRA Hayes, my dad didn't see himself as a hero. Everyone thinks these guys are heroes because they're on a photo on a monument. My dad knew better. He was a medic. John Bradley from Wisconsin was a combat caregiver. On Iwo Jima, he probably held over 200 boys as they died. And when boys died on Iwo Jima, they writhed and screamed without any medication or help with the pain. When I was a little boy, my 3rd grade teacher told me that my dad was a hero. When I went home and told my dad that, he looked at me and said, I want you always to remember that the heroes of Iwo Jima are the guys who did not come back. Did not come back. So that's the story about 6 nice young boys. 3 died on Iwo Jima, 3 came back as national heroes. Overall, 7,000 boys died on Iwo Jima in the worst battle in the history of the Marine Corps. My voice is given out, so I will end here. Thank you for your time. Suddenly, the monument wasn't just a big old piece of metal with a flag sticking out the top. It came to life before our eyes with the heartfelt words of a son who did indeed have a father who was a hero. Maybe not a hero for the reasons most people would believe, but a hero nonetheless. One thing I learned while on tour with my 8th grade students in D.C. was not mentioned here. That is, if you look at the statue very closely, and you count the number of hands raising the flag, there are 13. When the man who made the statue was asked why there were 13, he simply said, the 13th hand was the hand of God.